Hello! Today I thought I would do the 30 questions goth challenge thing. Number 1. How did you come across the subculture? I first kind of got into the dark things when I was about 8, and I was reading these books called Little Vampire. It's a book series. Highly recommended. I love them still. And after that, when I was about 13, 14 or so, I had a few friends who were goths and they were older than me, so I would just ask them about stuff and they would teach me, like explain the Batcave, explain all the origins, where it comes from, why they were all black, all that stuff. But I didn't really say I was, and I didn't say I wasn't a goth at the time. And I'll explain this in another video, but it has to do with a comic and the way goths were perceived at the time in Norway, where I live. So I never really proclaimed myself to be one until a few years ago. Let's see. Share photos and experiences from your baby bat days. Experiences? Not a whole lot to speak of. Because I live in Norway, people don't seem to react at all to this. Let's see. Number 3. When did you come out of the goth closet? If you didn't, then simply discuss the topic. Well, I guess you could officially say I came out of the goth closet a couple of years ago, but I've always kind of been half in it and half outside of it, if you know what I mean. So when I finally said that, well, I identify as this goth character thing, people around me just went, oh, okay. I guess I officially came out of the goth closet or coffin a couple years ago. Let's see. Number 4, name a stereotype or cliche you can relate to. That would have to be cemeteries, I think. The cliche of goths having picnics. I didn't have picnics, but I would spend a lot of time at the cemetery in my hometown. I just found the place very tranquil and very nice, and because it's a cemetery and because it's connected to the cathedral in my hometown, it's always very well kept. It looks really nice. It looks like a nice park. It just happens to have a lot of tombstones in it. Is there a local goth band or group in your area? In my hometown, I don't know of any. Where I live now, I recently moved here. I know there's a few. It's a much bigger city. Well, the area is a lot larger, and therefore, naturally, a lot more of the various subcultures out there. I guess the most well-known gothy group would be Goth Minister. Handwrite your favorite lyric and take a picture. Okay then. Let's see. 10 of your favorite goth bands. Ooh, wow. Let's see. What is your worst and best experience with non-goths? My worst experience with non-goths is something as mundane as they having to take a second look. That's it. Like I said, in Norway people just don't care. If you look like this, fine. If you look like everyone else, fine. Go about your business. It's no problem. Best experiences? I guess that might have to be... Well, my parents-in-law, like in-laws, my boyfriend's parents, they're so sweet. They will buy me things. They will buy me like button-up shirts made of lace, and they will consequently get me black stuff. What genre of music do you dislike? It's not so much a genre per se, but I cannot stand Celine Dion. What do you hate and love about subculture? Well, I can say what I love first. I love the open-mindedness and the freedom to be or think or say whatever you want. You all know this, but us goths, we tend to look at, say, death as something not to be feared, not to be shunned, but something that will inevitably happen. So we figure, why not just be okay with it now? What I don't like about the subculture on a whole is some of the elitism that goes on. Some, not all, because elitism is a good thing in a culture where you're constantly worried about being watered down. We are different than the norm, and we just have to fess up to it. And yes, we are darker inclined. Yes, we are kind of creepy and ooky spooky half the time. Because we do ooky spooky things. We like hang out at cemeteries. Some of us collect animal bones. Some of us think the Victorian mourning rituals are amazing and want them back. Because it was a nice way to show your mourning to the general public. While a sense of elitism within the community is good, or the culture, don't be an asshole towards the baby bats, please. Because you were one, I was one, I probably still am in most people's eyes. And instead of blatantly telling them off and being all sorts of shitty with them, just kind of steer them towards whatever you feel they need to know, and just kind of nudge them over to the gothy side if you want them to stay in the culture. If you don't like them and you want them out, by all means, be an asshole, but it doesn't help the culture. To sum up this little rant, I like that it's free and that you can do and say pretty much whatever you want without being ridiculed or some other such nonsense. And I dislike the occasional elitism that's kind of pushing it too much, I think, because it kind of seems to end up being counterproductive. If you want the culture to survive and you want the culture to thrive, don't shun those who don't know everything right off the bat. Let's see. Is goth a lifestyle for you? Insofar as it can be, yeah, I would say it is. I mean, I've always been kind of darker, I've always been kind of the creepy kid, in a way. Since I was about like 7, 8 years old, I've always been geared towards that whole thing. I remember when my granddad died, I was 10, and I went to his funeral. And everyone around me were crying, and I just stood there and looked at the grave and thought, well, he was old. He lived a long and happy life. He had 4 children. He had a bunch of grandchildren. He was fortunate enough to meet them all before he died. I don't feel like crying. I think he's happy. I think he's better off because he had a lot of pain at the end. I can remember that. He was sick and stuff. So I've always been that kind of kid. Like, okay, this is death, but it's not creepy to me. I didn't want to see him though. I didn't want to see his corpse. Because I didn't remember him like that. I wanted to remember the quirky old guy who would steal my video games when I was a kid. So, yeah, I would say Goth is lifestyle. If you mean like interior design and furniture and decorating and stuff, that will have to wait until I can afford getting my own house with my boyfriend. Because right now I'm renting an apartment in a house, and because of that I can't do anything with the walls and what have you. I can put up some pictures and stuff, but I can't paint them, and I can't do things to them that I would like to do if it was my home. Like my house, the one I owned. So that will have to wait. But I would say it's a lifestyle in that I carry around with me this understanding of life and death and how they are connected, and how death isn't something to be afraid of, really. Because if you're afraid of dying, then you're afraid of living. Think about that. What's your Gothic inspiration? Ooh. It can be anything, really. Internet is a big one. Books and things. Like books like this. Really good one. And then we have the slightly more satirical. Yeah, it's funny as hell. But also people around me, even if they're not goth, because I don't really prescribe to that notion that, oh, you are goth, so therefore you are cool. It's more like you're a person. Whether you're cool or not with me is, we'll see. So usually I will see someone at work or wherever, and they will have a really nice dress on or a cute top or something, and I would just ask them where they got it, because even if it's not a color I would prefer, more often than not, that very same top will exist in the color black. Because black goes with everything, and even the fashion houses know this. So pretty much anything you can think of, there is a black version of it. So Gothic inspiration to me comes from anything and everything, and books, movies, music, to some extent TV, people around me, and the internet. The internet is a big one though. Pinterest, oh lord. What was your first band t-shirt? Oi. I think it might have been one of my Misfits t-shirts. It might also have been Sex Pistols. One of those two. Let's see. What was your best and worst DIY disaster? Wow. I don't do that much DIY yet. I've done like painted shirts and done patches and things, and I've attempted to deconstruct and rebuild a few items of clothing. Yeah, disastrous all across the board. The patches were okay, but me trying to wield the sewing machine, no. Let's see, number 15, your favorite or most expensive item in your wardrobe. My most expensive one is a handbag that I bought for myself as a reward when I got a proper job. Because I needed a handbag that wasn't filled with skulls for the job, kind of. While we don't really have the whole corporate goth thing here in Norway, we don't have the necessity for it because everyone is cool with how you look. My job at the time meant that I would have to interact with people from all over the world. Therefore, I needed to tone down certain things. So my favorite handbag, which is like black with red skull cherries on it, I love it to pieces. But I didn't feel, maybe I couldn't get away with wearing that to work if I had like a conference or something I had to go to. So I got a new bag, and it was designer and it's expensive as all blazes, but it's gorgeous. I love it. And my more prized possessions or favorite items, it probably vintage pieces that most of them I have from my mom and my mom's relatives, like my great grandma or my mom's aunt or something. I have no clue who this was, but she passed away when I was younger, and she had this beautiful ruffle Victorian looking shirt that I got to inherit because no one wanted it, and I was like, ah, mine. And then there's all the handmade stuff that my mom-in-law makes me. I love that stuff. I love it to bits. I wear it all the time and I love it. Let's see. 16. What's the most casual you've ever dressed? Casual by Gothy standards or casual by anyone else's standards? Nah. I'm pretty low-key. I usually like just wear this. Like jeans and a t-shirt. That's me. But I prefer them to be black skinny jeans and a black t-shirt, of course. Your favorite goth brand? Oh, wow. There are so many. Well, I guess I would have to say Cambrielle. Yeah. Let's see, worst hair experience. I don't have those because I really do not care about my hair. It grows back out. Share beauty advice and take a photo of your makeup. Well, this is my makeup for today. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's smoky eye with winged liner and red lips for once. Beauty advice. I would say experiment. Experiment a lot and find something you like, something you're good at, and something you can confidently pull off. That's my only advice. Just keep at it, practice. Yeah, it will look a hot mess in the beginning, but keep at it. If you could dye your hair any color, what would it be? Well, right now my hair is kind of dark reddish brown. I dyed it red in hopes of it being very dark vampire red or blood red or something or other. It didn't really work out, so I will be dyeing my hair black again. I've had my hair dyed black a number of times, and I always feel the most comfortable with black hair. So it will be black. Black number 1. 21. What body mod do you have or have you considered? Well, I have 2 piercings in my earlobes, and the bottom one I'm trying to stretch, and I do it very, very, very slowly because I don't know how far up I want to go yet. Right now these are at 3 or 4 millimeters, I can't really remember, but they're just basic tunnels. And the other ones are I think 1.6 millimeters, which is like the standard starting out size. I used to have a piercing here and here. And I'll see if I can find a picture of me with them in so you can see what it looked like. I also have a tattoo. Let's see. And I'll explain the reasonings behind this pink flower. It's a cherry blossom in another video because it's kind of a long-ish story and it took me 10 years to get, and I absolutely love it. And there's a reason why I have it here as well. Let's see. If you could attend any goth event, what would it be? If we're talking current ones, like still existing, there would be Whitby in the UK, Wave Gothic Treffen in Leipzig, I think it is, in Germany. Drop Dead Festival, I think that one is in New York or Los Angeles. It's one of the coasts, I never can tell which one. If we're talking stuff that happened in the past, I would love to have been present at the Batcave when that was in its heyday, because just being there when it all started would be amazing to me. But yeah. Your favorite artist or photographer? Ooh, that's a good question. Well, if we're talking gothy stuff, then I have no clue. I mean, I don't categorize the art and or photography I like into that lump. But overall, Jackson Pollock, love his stuff. Name the best websites for goths. Oh, I'll try to make a little list and put it in the box below. Did you ever consider leaving the subculture? Well, like I said, I kind of had a foot in it and then a foot outside of it for a long while. Never really proclaiming to be one, never really denying to be one. I kind of was, but wasn't in the culture for many years, and I was fine with that. I didn't really mind, so I haven't really considered leaving the culture as such, but because I never really fully was in it, like all the way in it for very, very long. And now that I feel like I belong in this subculture phenomenon thing, I have no intention of leaving, and I have kind of just realized that this is my place in the world. I am one of these gothy people. I am one of these creepy kids. That's just how I am. Show a photo for every year or month if you're new that you've been being into goth. Well, that's a whole different sentence than I was expecting. It will probably be more or less the same pictures as my baby back days, because if I decided to dress gothy one day, I did, and if I didn't want to dress all that gothy, I didn't at the time. So while I did favor darkish clothing most of my teen years, I never really went all out, look at me, I am a goth in my dress. I just had the mindset. The worst thing you ever did to a newbie? Well, there was this kid This is like 10 or so years ago now. This is online as well. There was this kid like ranting on about how she was so goth, she shit bats. I mean, she was like uber goth. And then she went on to saying, and I hate punk. What? So the only thing I really did was kind of tell her that, well, if you want to be a goth, if you want to be a part of this subculture, you should at least be aware of where the music came from. So I kind of just nudged her a little and told her that, well, all these bands that are considered the beginning of the culture, she didn't like any of it. But that's fine. I mean, she didn't really know, I guess. I kind of just steered her towards looking into where the goth music and goth subculture actually came from, because if you're saying that you are a goth and then just proclaim that, oh, you hate everything about the culture's origins. What? So yeah, luckily I got her first, because if she had done that with the elders that I had been talking to when I was her age, she would have been ripped apart. Just saying. Do you consider yourself an elder goth? I'd love to be one, but I'm not. I'm probably still a baby bat, to be honest. But that has to do with how I got into the culture. And also, I'm not old enough to be an elder goth because I wasn't born when the Batcave was big. I'm sorry, I'm too young, and I'm 28. Let's see, 29. What do you think will happen to goth in the future? I honestly don't know, because it's very difficult to predict the future. But I think the way things are looking, at least where I live, it will be more, I want to say accepted, but not watered down. Like, it'll be more accepted to be different, to have different tastes in certain things, to have different hobbies, to do all this stuff and still be a productive member of society. And any and all misconceptions will be kind of washed out, I hope. Because they still exist, and that's a bad thing. But that's for here. When it comes to goth in other countries, I don't really know, because it seems like in the US you struggle a whole lot more than we do here with just being who you are. And I don't know what will happen there, but I'm hoping it will be better. And 30, make a list of blogs you read often. Norwenglish. And link to them. Sure, why not? I'll try to find some blogs and some YouTubers. It'll probably be mostly YouTubers, because I haven't really found blogs much yet. So yeah, there we go. The 30 questions. Ta-ta!